Oh, hello there. Friends, lovers. Oh my gosh. It's Sunday. Sunday, September 25th. Friends, lovers, thank you for joining us. We're glad you're here. This is 5 Minutes with Robert and Amy Nasir.
We are celebrating a successful week, and we are anticipating yet another one.
Are we?
Yeah.
Good. That sounds great to me. Today is Sunday, September 25th, 2022. The 268th day of this your best year yet, with 97 days left to make this so. And autumn is here. We warned it was coming, and now it has come. It's chilly in Motown, but I'm digging it. I'm loving it. And I feel that sort of preseason season. You know, the whole final quarter of the year is holiday season. We're already looking forward to Halloween in just 36 days.
Yep, got my spoopy earrings on.
Those are very spoopy. Spoopy being Amy's new word for the year. Makes me think of a Charlie Brown Christmas. Or, excuse me, it's the Great Pumpkin Charlie Brown.
Yes. Yeah, I got a rock. Oh, that's very spoopy, Charlie Brown.
Oh, that's the worst part of it. Actually, that whole episode is just horrible. What is up with that? But,
well,
on the bright side, Christmas in just 91 days, and today being September 25th, this is the day when the Bill of Rights, the United States Bill of Rights, passed in the Congress. On this date in 1789, the United States Bill of Rights, a Bill of Rights unlike any that had ever been seen before. Of course, after it passed Congress, they send it to the states, and then, it has to be ratified. It was actually ratified on December 15, 1791, but the Bill of Rights, this is why we have freedom of speech. It's why we can pick on all of our UK friends. I see you in the chat there. Good to see you all on board. Apollo Zeus is in the chat. And, sorry, I gotta bring up my chat here on the Facebook side of things as well. Make sure I don't miss anything.
Yep.
Because I see the incredible Mr. Jim Ashley, the writer, is in both Facebook
he has cloned himself.
And YouTube, which is good because if y'all were around last week, technical difficulties behind the scenes. Facebook wasn't responding. Well, now we're on both tonight. But we do love to see people in YouTube because we're trying to get those numbers up. Like and share, subscribe, and all that good stuff. The Bill of Rights passed in Congress on this date in 1789. Now, England, the UK, Apollo Zeus, and all of our new UK fans, folks we brought on board being associated with the ARC UK, the UK had a Bill of Rights. There was an English Bill of Rights, which included a list of King James misdeeds. I wonder what a list of King Charles misdeeds is going to look like. And 13 articles that outlined specific freedoms, such as the freedom of speech in Parliament. Mm-hmm. Can you imagine in the U.S. if we said, yeah, we have freedom of speech, but that only applies to Congress? Citizens don't have freedom of speech. What are you talking about? But England had the freedom to petition the king. So you couldn't criticize the king, but you could at least ask for an audience with some member of the royal staff to say, I disagree with what the king is doing.
And when you were done, you had to walk backwards outside of the room.
But hey, that was something, right? They did have the freedom to bear arms for self-defense, and freedom from cruel and unusual punishment and excessive bail. So, some of the U.S. Bill of Rights were patterned on the English Bill of Rights from 100 years prior, but nothing touches Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion, or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech, or of the press, or the right of the people to peacefully assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. So you see that petition the government, petition the king. Again, this is an evolution, but it really was, I don't know, what would you call that, a monumental step forward. Second Amendment, a well-regulated militia being necessary for the security of a free state. Man, I wish they had defined militia at the time. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. I'm not going to read all 10 of them. Actually, there were 12 of them originally that were passed by the Congress on this date. Only 10 of them made it through the states. The 2 that were lost were not that important. If only the 14th Amendment ending slavery had been included, the country would have been well nigh perfect right from the beginning. Who needed to give women the right to vote? Well, okay, that one too. Little bit of that as well. I'll just read the last two because I'm reading the Bill of Rights. I've got to read the last two. The 9th Amendment. The enumeration of the Constitution of certain rights shall not be construed to deny or disparage others retained by the people. And then, of course, the 10th Amendment, the powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution, nor prohibited to it by the states, are reserved for the states, respectively, or to the people. Another one that I wish had been made clear. I'm all for states' rights in procedural issues. I don't believe in states' rights when it comes to legislation on principle. If it's not right for the federal government to do it, it ain't right for the states to do it. But a happy day to consider. 1789 Bill of Rights passed. Also, happy birthday to the great man himself.
Who dat?
Luke Skywalker. Mark Hamill, happy birthday. 71 years old.
Carrie Fisher's brother.
In spirit, yes. You so silly. Happy birthday to Will Smith. Now, I'm a big Will Smith fan. It's sad that people say, you say Will Smith now, and do they think, Will Smith, the Fresh Prince, DJ Jazzy Jeff?
His hand was possessed by a demon.
Do they think the film Pursuit of Happiness, and obviously, Men in Black and Independence Day and 1,000 great movies. No, what do people think of? Oh, man, you slapped that guy at the award ceremony. No. Forget that. One mistake, not cool. I criticized it at the time. I'll criticize it again if I have to. But, man, Will Smith is the frickin' man. So, happy birthday, Will Smith, 54 years old.
I really liked him in Hitch. And,
Hitch was so much fun.
So much fun.
When you get him in these charming, lighthearted, earnest films, he's the best. He's just the best. Happy birthday to...
And on top of that, he's an actor. That's what he does for a living. If he is less than wonderful in his personal life, then, he's an actor.
I'm skeptical.
Yeah, I am too. But
people who say that he's less than a wonderful person in person.
I would say for that moment he was, yes.
Yes, for that moment.
But that moment doesn't wipe out everything. So there you are.
Parents just don't understand. And apparently neither do his fans. I'm all for the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Do not diss Will Smith. And also, happy birthday to the dynamic duo of Catherine Zeta-Jones and her hubs. Same birthday, Michael Douglas.
Same birthday?
Yeah.
What?
Husband and wife.
That's kind of wild.
On this day, Michael Douglas celebrates it.
What?
We have so much fun with age differences on this show. Michael Douglas turns 78 today.
Oh.
He's looking pretty good for a 78-year-old guy. And Catherine Zeta-Jones, Mrs. Douglas, turns
39.
53. Well,
53.
Not 39, but she looks closer to 39 than Michael Douglas does to 53.
True.
Happy birthday to... I love Catherine Zeta-Jones. It's funny because a lot of people think of her as, bombshell, drop-dead gorgeous. And she is, but I just love the lighthearted stuff. Legend of Zorro and America's Sweethearts. And it's just fun stuff. Her performance in the film version of the musical Chicago. Just good stuff. And Michael Douglas, of course, an incomparable actor as well. Happy birthday to the both of them. Also, happy National Daughters Day.
Yay!
Now, my daughter is working today, but just in case, Diana, you listen to this after the fact, happy birthday, what am I saying? Happy National Daughters Day. Of course, her mother's already posted cute pictures of her and her sisters. If you've got a daughter, reach out to her. If you are a daughter, reach out to your folks. Make those connections. Have dinner on us, except we're not going to pay for it. All we're telling you is to go out and do it. And if you miss out on it, like I will today because my daughter's working, here you go. On October 6th, so coming up in, 11 days, it's National Transfer Money to Your Daughter Day.
be your ATM for your daughter day?
I couldn't believe it when I found. Now this will not happen on a Sunday, so I won't have a chance to announce it on the show this year. So I have to bring it up. October 6th is an entire day devoted to daughters getting some extra pocket money from their parents. What? When? How? Where did Did Zelle or one of these bank services chart that? Where did this one come from?
I don't know. All I know is that I have a very spoopy story for you all. So
yes,
if you are sitting in the dark, it'll be perfect.
Okay,
if
everybody,
you're a little afraid,
shut off your lights or close your eyes.
Close your eyes. Shut off your lights.
Maybe put on a velvet blindfold. I don't know what she's going to say. This may be the worst thing I could have said.
Well, now speaking of Daughter's Day, I just want to give a shout out to my stepdaughter Diana.
Yes,
and she's awesome and wonderful and very sweet, and I just love her, even though she cusses too much. So there you go. I love her as even if she is cussing all the time. Doesn't matter. Love her.
Well,
so
yes, that's not spooky. Why is that spooky?
But I want to tell you. I was a daughter for about 8 years. This is a long story. I knew my dad later in life. And for 8 long years, I was a daughter of his.
Okay.
And
rediscovered a father you never really knew.
And very spooky coincidence. Everybody, try not to fall out of your chair because this is really spooky.
I'll try not to fall out of my chair.
I was looking for a new pen, and I went into the junk drawer. And I opened the junk drawer, and I'm like, this is a really pretty pen. Oh, look at how pretty and shiny and kind of silver.
Classy.
Very classy. It's one of those things that you,
styling.
You can.
Well, I like the surface, too, the dark silver.
It's really nice.
it's not ebony, but it's nice and dark.
I look closer, and it says...
Is that engraved?
It has a name and a street address on it of my dad. Ooh! Oh my gosh! No. Okay, so anyway, there you are. Spoopy story for you. My dad is communicating to me beyond the grave.
Your father rises from the dead in the form of an ink pen. Hey.
And so he's wishing me a happy daughter day. So there you are.
It's early. The level of spookiness, we're ramping up. We're getting there slowly. But surely... be prepared, because Jim Ashley asks in the chat, by the way, how's Mr. Bones doing? I can tell you, Mr. Bones, since you mentioned the closet, Mr. Bones is out of the closet.
Is he now?
He's not at the piano right now. He's actually laying in the bed in the guest room playing guitar.
Oh, very nice.
Oh, you didn't notice that?
I can hear him now.
Okay, yes. He has a small guitar in his lap, and he is having at it. So pictures soon.
Exclusively on the 5 Minutes with Robert and Amy Nasir Facebook page.
That's
Pictures of Mr. Bones coming soon.
Yeah, if you're not following us, we're in there by our real names. Easiest people in the world for you identity thieves. I mean, for you good people to find. So happy National Daughters Day. Again, if you miss it, October 6th is... the research on this, apparently the first mention of this was 4 years and 11 months ago. So this is pretty new. Mm-hmm. Thinking, maybe it was started by one of those money transfer services and they're just not fessing up to it. But a lot of people are, like legitimate news sources are reporting National Transfer Money to Your Daughter Day. So the crime is being multiplied here.
I'm going to find a really spooky deposit into my bank account, I'm sure, when I go after this. I'm going to go look at my bank account. And it'll be a mystery...
mystery money.
Mystery money.
In high school, we had mystery meat. You will find mystery money.
From my dad from beyond the grave.
National Daughters Day. The original meaning behind the day may have blossomed in India, per the Hindustan Times. Unlike other countries in the world, there has always been a certain stigma attached to being a girl in India. Mm-hmm. And while this may no longer be the case in the big cities, it is still quite widespread. When a woman gives birth to a girl, she is penalized. I think that's terrible cultural tradition, but think about how much worse it is in China. For the longest time with the one-child policy and parents' desire for male children, both to make more money and also to carry on the family name,
Yeah, and a lot of that came out of the agricultural societies. You know, a girl couldn't work the fields as hard as the son. You know,
It was not a problem if you were allowed to have more children. You just have another kid. Eventually you have boys. But yes, with the one-child policy, it's tragic and I won't get into it. But at this point, as of 2021, population of China, 723 million males, 689 million females. I'm sure the non-binaries and others are in there somewhere as well. I shouldn't even bring that up. It's a tragic thing to think there are 34 million men in China who just have no chance of being with a woman long term. You know, we think in terms of marriage and raising a family, and it's the craziest thing. And I have a lot of theories about this, which I won't get into, but if you have a daughter, cherish your daughter, praise your daughter, and October 6th, send her some money. Also, it's National Food Service Employees Day. Now, a lot of you know that I spent a long time, way too long, I think of Winston Churchill saying, never, ever, 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 ever quit is advice for life. And that was my attitude in fast food. So of all the years I spent in fast food, I give a big shout out to all of you who are still doing that job, keeping them places running. In 2022, man, how many restaurants do you know that close early just because they don't have enough staff to stay open as long as they used to? So big shout out, National Food Service Employee Day, and really anybody of you out there who have got jobs, keeping the basics going. You have no idea how important that is. Especially given our objectivist, our Ayn Rand fan audience. I know some people tend to derogate 9-to-5ers and line workers and food service workers, and you should be more ambitious than that. You should be a captain of industry, or you should be ashamed. And I say, pshaw, to heck with that.
Yeah.
Anybody willing to do an honest day's work,
absolutely.
You are my heroes.
Be proud of yourself no matter what you're doing.
It's also Rosh Hashanah. It has something to do with Neil Peart and Geddy Lee, and I don't know. It said Rosh Hashanah.
It's the day to celebrate Shoshana Milgram.
Shoshana Milgram Day. Good. All right. Also something about the Jewish New Year. I don't know. If you're Jewish, Happy New Year. Actually, it's kind of fun because in 2020, the Ukraine president, Vladimir Zelensky, announced that Ukraine would declare Rosh Hashanah as a national holiday. Now, I'm not much for making religious holidays into national holidays, but this makes Ukraine the only country besides Israel where the day is a national holiday. Now, if you live in a country, not far north of the Middle East, I think that takes cojones. I think it takes balls to say, hey, in the Ukraine, Rosh Hashanah, yeah, that's a holiday. So cool on them. And finally, it's One Hit Wonder Day. And I've talked many times about my deep and abiding love for one-hit wonders, for songs by artists where they made it big, like top of the charts, million sellers, everybody loved it, and somehow they only had one. Mm-hmm. It's in a way, it's kind of tragic if you're that artist, but it also has a great charm about it. I guess because I know a lot of artists who never even had one hit. Bar bands who we have worked with, bar bands that we have been in.
Right.
So I love the idea of one-hit wonders. Some of the best songs ever released. Some of my absolute favorite songs are one-hit wonders. I posted a playlist of those before. I'll check, see if it's still on YouTube. Otherwise, I'll put it up again and then add it in.
Yeah, Stephanie says, is One Hit Wonder Day not yet a nationally recognized holiday?
Only in the Ukraine. No, it's it's not, but it should be.
It should be.
Dash it all. And speaking of one-hit wonders, what are we listening to this week?
I'm actually listening. I listened to, I watched on YouTube a recording of the concert, most recent concert with the Pixies, with Black Francis and all of their weird TV from the late 80s, early 90s, and they recently had a hit, I think, on one of these TV shows. I don't know if it was Stranger Things or whatever it was, but yeah, and they played that hit near the very ending of it, and I thought, how did this become a hit? But it did, 30 years later, or actually probably more than that. But yeah, I've been listening to the Pixies.
Excellent.
Yes.
Excellent. Well, I've been listening to, obviously, some of the shows out there that I'll talk about in a moment. Apollo Zeus, though, was right to point out that Catherine Zeta-Jones is Welsh, which caught my eye when I was reading up about her, because one of my favorite contemporary bands, the Joy Formidable,
Yes.
are Welsh. And it's funny, they remade one of their albums entirely using Welsh.
Yes.
Translated it from English to Welsh.
They're keeping that language alive. There's a whole contingent of people there in England who are trying to keep it going.
So yeah, great three-piece band. If you like noise rock, or if you just like interesting rock music,
Yes.
with an unusual trio, you gotta have a three-piece band where the guitar player is a woman, and she's the lead singer,
Yep.
and super charming.
Yes.
A gal named Rhiannon goes by the name Ritzy.
Ritzy.
Bryan.
Love it.
So good. The Joy Formidable. There was something else in the chat here I needed to comment on. Oh, and Jennifer says, my hubby is 73. Jennifer, I've met your hubby. He doesn't look 73 yet. And you certainly don't look old enough to be with him. You must have one of those Michael Douglas, Catherine Zeta-Jones things going on, because you are nowhere old enough for that.
Jim Ashley in Facebook, he mentions the song Midnight Feels Right by Starbuck from
There you go.
1976.
Great example. We have talked about that. They brought in an amazing marimba player for that song.
Yes, they did.
If you've listened to the vibes solo on that song. Amazing. Yeah, well, a lot of one-hit wonders were made by a combination of a decent band, but a great producer.
Yes.
Who knew who to bring in the right session musicians. So yes, very much appreciate that. Well, I've also, of course, I'll do the narcissist thing for a moment, listening to my own shows. It's funny because I'll do shows with James Valiant, the author of Creating Christ and The Passion of Ayn Rand's Critics, and all-around brilliant guy.
All-around brilliant guy.
And because I'm co-hosting them with him, in other words, I'm just making it possible while he goes and B's brilliant. B's brilliant. You see, if I say B's brilliant, that tells you how brilliant I am. But it's interesting because I'm monitoring the chat and I'm going over my notes and I'm reviewing the questions that we're discussing, and sometimes I miss some of the clever things he says. So if it sounds silly that, Robert, why do you listen to your own stuff afterwards? Well, that's one of the reasons. I will miss really, really clever things that Amy has said on this show because I'm looking at the chat or looking at some technical aspect of the studio here.
Well, but you're not the only one. I miss things that Robert says when I'm looking at, you can't divide your attention that much.
So yes, I am a total narcissist and gaslighter and all of those things, but also I have good reasons for listening to my own show. So this week, Peek Off Fridays, the shows I do with James Valiant, turned into Peek Off Wednesdays. We moved Peek Off Wednesdays.
Mercredis in French.
Oh, very good. I should remember how to say Wednesdays in Spanish. Your French is better than my Spanish. Yes. And we became ARC UK's first morning show, at least if you're in the United States, because we moved it to 11 a.m. Eastern Time, 8 a.m. Pacific. So we did the part 2 episode of Love versus Money, the productivity and passion questions in keeping it real. That was good. Link in the show notes. Already posted to YouTube and will be posted to Facebook, which we can't do ahead of time, but will after the show. My Thursday show, Life on Earth, I did the topic, Living the Ideas on Joyfulness. Now, I'm going to be doing a series of these. It's going to be hard to do them every week because these ones take some writing, but concepts that I think philosophers, philosophy students, objectivists, fans of Ayn Rand, concepts we need to own, that we need to take over. Concepts that aren't usually part of the repertoire, like joyfulness, or courage, or loyalty, or honor. Some of these are really mixed concepts. Think about what has been done with the concept of honor, for example, in certain countries. We need to own these concepts. We need to take them back over. We need to capitalize them. So on Thursday I did on joyfulness. That was fun, especially because I threw in a bit of a pirate theme. Remember last Monday was Talk Like a Pirate Day.
Yes.
That was irresistible.
Well, by the way, that was a very good episode on how to extract as much joy you can out of life. And, it's very good.
I haven't actually re-listened to that one yet. But I appreciate the vote of confidence there. And just released this week, which I haven't listened to yet, but I listened to it live at Ocon 2022, was How to Set and Apply a Central Purpose by Jean Maroney. Now remember, she did a talk on purpose the previous Ocon. We recommended that one, and I told you on this very show that when this one is released to the public, you should definitely listen to it. Well, this week it was released to the public, and you should definitely listen to it. So check that out in the show notes if you haven't already seen it on YouTube. And I think that's all we've been listening to. I am tonight going to listen to Yaron Brooks' show because he's doing his 18th Rules for Life episode. And he's doing it early. He's starting at 7 p.m.
How many rules does he have?
Well, now he's got 18. He didn't know when he started how many he's got. He just keeps... And it's funny because he realizes this. Some of them have overlapped.
Yeah.
So when he refines this down, it might end up being only 12 or 15 or 8 or, he's thrown different numbers around. But here's the catch. That's on at 7 o'clock Eastern time, which means we can't take much more than 5 minutes. Or maybe a little more than that, but we definitely don't want to run past to the top of the hour to miss Yaron's Rules for Life, number 18. The episode is called Go See the World. Now, I swear we scooped him on this one, because James and I were just talking about going and seeing the world. Leonard Peikoff, giving career advice, is saying, get out there and actually do things. It turned into one of the shorts on ARC UK when I gave my bit of a rant on it. You're not going to find a book that's going to say, you should go work for IBM, or you should go work for Burger King, or you should become a founder. You're not going to find that advice. You're going to find philosophic advice, and then this is especially for you young people, but even older people looking to change careers. You got to get out there and try stuff. We talk about paying your dues. Part of that is take chances, accept a certain amount of risk. You got to have some risk tolerance. And get out there and do stuff. Explore. Andrew Bernstein calls that the explorer's premise. Mm-hmm. You have got to be willing to get out in the world, to get some dirt under your fingernails, to try things out, to make some mistakes, to find out what causes you to fail, or you will never figure out what's going to cause you to succeed. So
that very much relates to what we're going to be talking about tonight.
Yes.
Our main topic.
So I'm sure that's a big part, or maybe a small part. I don't know. I might be entirely wrong, but I think that's part of what Yaron will talk about tonight when he says, go see the world. The other thing, though, is I know he's encouraged travel in the past, too. Mm-hmm. There's some people who just never get out there and try things. See places. Do different parts of the world. When we went to Paris, I swore before we went, oh, man, this is a lot of time and a whole lot of money. And I've seen Paris. I've seen pictures. I've done fly-throughs on Google Earth. I know what it's going to look like.
That'll get you the experience.
Well, it's funny because Paris was your idea.
Yes, absolutely.
And in the end, I ended up much more jazzed about it than Amy was.
Well, I just got homesick, that's all.
Amy got homesick. Well, and you didn't like the fact that Paris does have its homeless people.
And it's certain smells.
And smells that go along with that.
Yeah.
And other, things that
But it was really beautiful. I look back on it very fondly. I really do. It was just it's certainly I want to remember the distinctiveness of it, even the smells of it. It was very distinctive. It did feel like I was not quite in my own world, but
fortunately we have hundreds of photographs, including a lot of video clips, so it's very easy to bring the memories back. Yes, good stuff. So, looking forward to that. And, as you say, one of the challenges I ran into today in putting together notes for this episode was my mood off. Now, we did a whole episode on autumn blues, and we've talked about autumn blues before, and sure enough, this is our first episode officially after summer is over. And today, it was hard to get in the right mood for it. So, I found a file on my computer, and I swear I wrote this because I looked on the internet and I couldn't find anybody else who said these things, but I didn't. It's the kind of text file that I will make and save and work on later.
I know you did. It's your style.
It is. And it's a text file called 5 Steps to Get Back on the Right Path .txt. You got to have the .txt part, otherwise it doesn't work. kidding, you computer people are probably giggling. Everybody else is like, yeah, whatever. 5 steps to get back on the right path. You're right, this does sound like something I would write because it is something that I do.
Yeah.
5 steps, real quick. And then you can go listen to Yaron Brook. Number 1, concretize your goals and values. That doesn't sound like a small step. That sounds like a big step.
Yeah, that's.
But what do I mean by concretize? Your goals and your values.
Well, write them all in as much detail as possible.
Or in no detail at all, but get them out on paper.
Yeah.
Yeah, so what I wrote was, to externalize them is to make them real, to make them objective. No, not with a phone or computer. Write them down on paper with a pen or pencil. Write. Yeah, that sounds like me. And I think it's true, because I'm that kind of guy who will carry things, to-do lists, and even longer-term goals and projects around in my head. They never see paper or even a computer. And most of them get done. I have that ability. But that's the problem, is if you're pretty good at that, you think it's good enough. And then it's easy to forget, oh yeah, there's also 10 things that I didn't do this week that I meant to do. So yes, concretize your goals and values. Write them down.
Yeah. So I wrote some notes about this, and in both number 1 and number 2, I'm scooping number 3, which I won't say what it is exactly, but yeah, I wrote, if you're not getting anywhere with what you want your values to be, it helps to talk it out with a trusted friend or counselor. And talk it out. So if the writing isn't coming, talk about it. Heck, I mean, look in the mirror and talk to yourself. As long as no one is creeped out by that, or is all right with it, or shut the door, lock it, and just have a conversation, or do a mind map. I suppose, with those little bubble things, which are very silly, but talk it out. I always find that helps.
Yes. Number 2. And this goes out for National Daughter's Day. I think one of the last presents I bought her was a copy of the Worst Case Scenario Handbook. Number 2.
Did you?
Project your worst and your best case scenarios. Know your outcomes. What will happen if everything goes right? And if everything goes awry, what is the worst that can happen? And how will you bounce back? So yeah, know your best and your worst, and know what happens afterward if either of those comes true. Projecting your best will motivate you, excite you, inspire you, and help you shape what you need to do to get there. Knowing your worst will insulate you from fear of failure and protect you just in case the worst does happen. Any thoughts on the second step there?
Just that I basically predicted number 3 before reading number 3.
Oh, good. What did you write?
I said, if everything goes wrong, you could set up an outlet of support or a group of friends to go to for help. So I mean, even before
great minds.
Yeah. So even before you venture out and do this risky thing, you can try to take inventory of what your support group is.
Yes. My post-it note of the week a few weeks ago, you might remember, said, reach out. And it's especially for people like me, and I'm sure like some of you who tend to think, well, part of independence, or maybe just because we're introverted, is I don't reach out to other people for help. I like it when people come to me for help. But I don't want to trouble people. I don't want to be a burden. I don't want anybody to sacrifice. So, point number 3, embrace those who wish you well.
Yes.
Reach out to those who can help you achieve your goals. Be willing to be judged, taught, advised, coached, mentored, inspired, and always be ready to be loved.
Yes.
It's a real challenge, again, for some of us who are brought up, again, either very shy or just, philosophically that, I don't think anybody should sacrifice for anybody. And we know that doesn't mean nobody should help anybody, but we end up acting like it does mean nobody should ever help anybody. So yes, it's a good reminder. Number 4.
Oh, before you go to number 4, I just want to say, and always be ready to be loved.
Yes.
Can be a little scary for some people.
Oh my gosh, yes.
So, you need, because if you're going to accept a compliment, for instance, or any kind of praise or love from somebody else, that kind of makes you a little vulnerable.
Yes.
And gets you to open up, and sometimes you're not ready for that. But, try to come up with a good response, a solid response to anybody who does that, where you are uncomfortable accepting the compliment or whatever. Just say, thank you so much. I appreciate that coming from you. Just memorize those words. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. It means a lot. Or whatever it is. Memorize those words, because the last thing you want to do is say, I'm no good. Why are you complimenting me? It's the last thing you want to say.
And we had a conversation yesterday during a long car ride.
Oh, yes.
That men and women are different. And we have different vulnerabilities, different sensitivities, different things that we need to be concerned about. And so women accepting compliments actually carries a certain amount of risk depending on the context. And it's not as simple as that. But
you think accepting compliments? Yeah.
Yeah.
It depends. It's very contextual.
There are compliments you don't want to receive, or some you do want to receive, but they end up having strings attached later.
Yeah.
Expectations,
right.
Presumptions of intimacy. Yes.
Yeah.
So, whatever it takes, and sometimes it takes a lot, always be ready to be loved. Number 4, choose, I've said this one before, but I'm going to say it again. Choose optional values which are empowering, inspirational, energizing,
like Halloween,
elevating. Choose the good.
Optional values that are spirited.
I've talked about things that are cathartic, things that are not positive in any way whatsoever, but they help you confront some of the challenges, disappointments, even ugliness of life. Or they're super high energy, but they're negative in every other conceivable way. Or, curate your inputs, curate your experiences, choose wisely. That's all I'm going to say. And if your thing is, if what your psychology demands is a lot of horror films or death metal music, or pick your poison.
Or songs by the Smiths, which I love, by the way, but only when I am ready for it.
Yeah, if 9 Inch Nails is your favorite band and listening to Marilyn Manson is what makes you feel really empowered, just be prepared to sprinkle in a little bit of a few other things. That's all I'm going to say about that. And finally,
there's a song by the Smiths called Heaven Knows I'm Miserable Now.
Heaven Knows I'm Miserable Now. But
it actually makes me smile because it's a funny song in a way.
And hey, we're all miserable sometimes. A song like that can make you think, other people get it too. And they get through it, and I'm going to get through it.
Apollo says, no, not Morrissey, just no. We were talking about Morrissey.
Just say no.
And he walks that fine line between complete and utter pretension and I don't know, I guess authentic expressions of things, catharsis, I suppose. But very interesting. Oh, and the sarcasm level of Morrissey is just way out there. So,
when you're in a really, really dark place, a super cheerful and earnest person might not be the person who can reach you. I totally get that.
Right.
I really do get it. All I'm saying is don't wallow.
Yes.
At some point, if those things aren't bringing you to a better place, you have to find your way there yourself. Finally, number 5. Look in the mirror. Literally, go look in the mirror and see the amazing person you are. You know, no one else holds your exact value hierarchy. Your tastes, your goals, your preferences, your style, your desires, your judgments, your specific wants and needs.
Sorry.
No one else holds your exact value hierarchy.
Yeah.
Your values. In your values, if not yet in your achievements, you are literally the best person in the world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you know, you're the best friend to yourself.
You are the most you person you have ever met.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there may be people out there who are more what you want to be. And that's great. That's aspirational. That's exciting. That's inspiring. And yeah, sometimes it's a little bit, makes you feel bad too. But that's your direction. That's your compass. That's your map. But you are literally the only person in the world that holds the exact same value hierarchy you do.
Yes.
And in that sense, you are the best person in the world.
Yes.
And I want you to look in the mirror and remember that. And be your best you. And live your best life. You have the right, you have the obligation, and you have every reason to do exactly that. So those are my 5 steps.
Yeah.
5 things that I do.
Yeah, I have a little bit of extra to add on to that.
Good.
Just to kind of, this relates to a really wonderful lecture called Certainty and Happiness by Leonard Peikoff that we actually listened to or read over today, this morning on the Iron Rand Center UK channel. And for members only, I should say, members only activity. But, we were talking about happiness and how if you lead a virtuous life, virtuous in a rational sense, where virtues actually tie into the main value or virtue of rationality and of reason. And so, I thought, in terms of, looking in the mirror and seeing who you are and your unique value hierarchy, your unique personality, what you bring to the world, what you bring to yourself, the relationship you have with yourself and with the world, the other people, your loved ones. I thought, I kind of formulated this. I said, your values are brought about by your virtues. And your virtues are brought about by your relationship to your reasoning mind and the freedom you have to use it. And I thought that's a good perspective. We talk in objectivism language. We talk about, value is that which one you act to gain and or keep. It's very, very concise, but it's not a lot of elaboration. And virtues are the tools in which that you use to gain values. Well, again, concise, but not a lot of elaboration. But when you get into the virtues and how they're described in Atlas Shrugged and all of this, they're very much connected to your own reasoning mind. It encourages you to think for yourself, to think independently, and the more you practice your virtues, the more you practice reason, basically. In honesty and integrity and productiveness and pride and etc. The easier it gets and more habit forming it is, and the less you will feel lost when things go crazy. So yeah, I talked today on that particular Zoom session today. If I didn't have that structured philosophical and moral base for myself, it'd be really difficult when I come up across adversity. But since I have that, I can count on myself to do the right thing, to think things through, and to act accordingly. So, anyway, yeah.
Yes.
Plus, I have a number 6.
Excuse me.
So, yeah, if deciding on values is still too difficult, and this comes across with a lot of young people. Yeah, what am I going to do with my life? Step away or go on an adventure. Make sure, and of course, and if you're older or younger, just make sure you're getting enough sleep, that you're eating well, that you're getting exercise, that you're fulfilling all the basic requirements that you as a human being should have, and give yourself some time. But sometimes you have to treat yourself really well and go on an adventure, step away, get a fresh perspective, and then start again.
Yes. Yeah, be good to yourself. Jim Ashley in the chat says, don't try to be someone other than yourself. There's only one universe, you have only one life, and there is only one you. Best policy toward yourself, be a friend to yourself. Well, I certainly appreciate that from Jim. I also like the advice that treat yourself like somebody you are responsible for helping.
Yes. Be your own advocate.
In the sense that if somebody just like you came up to you and said, look, here's where I'm at, here's what I'm dealing with, what advice would you give somebody else? That can be a handy thought experiment, because for a lot of us, even those of us who are not altruists, you will do more for somebody who comes to you and asks for help than you will ever do for yourself.
Yes.
It's the craziest thing.
Well, it's because you're not in your head. You're not in your own psychology. You're actually externalizing all of this great advice that you have at your fingertips that is really difficult sometimes to apply to yourself.
Yeah. And we know all of our own reasons. We know all of our own context. We know all of our own excuses. So when we give ourselves advice, it's easy to say, well, yeah, but, or, oh, I've tried that before, or, oh, I don't think that's going to work. Whereas if we're talking to somebody else, yeah, we don't let all of that stop us from saying, well, yeah, but here's the reality of it. Incidentally, speaking of this morning's certainty and happiness, and then I'll wrap up quick so we don't run over.
Yeah.
I wrote this out, and I was going to mention it, but then I didn't because it wasn't directly related, but this might be useful. Why does the average good, decent person, think of average people out there, good people, dismiss philosophy? The enemies of reason and certainty and objectivity, well, they frame philosophy as what? As a catalog of fallacies, of failure modes, of objections to all claims of knowledge, of certainty. Mm-hmm. And what do objectivists do? We spend volumes answering the objections, which positions the objectivists as the answerers of objections.
The objectionists.
No, the opposite of that.
Okay.
We answer the objections.
Right.
We tell people, here's what's wrong with modern philosophy.
Well, yeah, but we object to modern philosophy. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yes, but now I've lost my point.
Sorry about that.
It's okay. Yeah, if people think of objectivists as objectionists.
But yeah, we're constantly answering the questions of bad philosophy.
If that's what people think objectivism is.
Yeah.
If that's all or even the bulk of what objectivism is.
Right.
Why would anybody, those normal people out there, why would anybody outside of philosophic circles care about it? The average decent person already sees that modern philosophy has nothing to do with life, with the real world, with anything. He has no interest in irrationalism. Therefore, he feels no need for answers to irrationalism. And if he thinks that's what objectivism is about, answering the enemies of reason, he doesn't need that. So, it's why I think we need to focus on the positive. It's why when I read Ayn Rand quotes, I'll often rephrase them with all of the polemics removed, just making the positive point. If you haven't heard me do that before, don't worry. You'll hear me do it again. In the show notes, a few other steps toward making every day better, improving your mood, getting yourself back on the right track, changing your state. But I hope the 5, well, now 6, since Amy added on, that we discussed are helpful to you. Thank you for joining us. I'm not going to go much longer because we don't want to run over. I know we got folks who are going to run listen to Yara Brooke in 9 minutes and 37 seconds. My Post-it note for the week. I actually have 2 of them. My Post-it note for the week, the official one, says good is good. I may have presented this before, but it's very controversial in objectivist circles. Good is good. And if you are thinking, man, I need to be Howard Rourke, I need to be John Galt, I need to be Francisco d'Anconia. We all want to be Francisco d'Anconia. Yes, but good is good. And if you were good today, if you were successful today, if you were honest today, if you showed integrity today, if you did the hard things, if you got out of bed and went to work and did all the right stuff, you are good. And that is good.
I was certainly good today.
You were good today.
Thank you.
My other Post-it note, I said I had 2 of them. The other one says 3 good things. Well, that's not really advice, is it? But I need to get back into gratitude exercises, and 3 good things is certainly one of them, recommended by everybody, Gina Gorlin and Tal Tsafani and Gene Maroney. And so, yes, 3 good things at the end of every day. Look back on your day and say, hey, what were 3 good things about that day? And they don't need to be, I saved the world. No, it can be any 3 good things, anything that had some value significance to you. Doesn't have to be deeply philosophical. It can be as simple as, oh yeah, well, dinner was good. T-bone steaks, yeah, that was good. So yes, good is good. 3 good things. You can see they're related, and that's why I had to do 2 Post-it notes. But yeah, I got to remind myself to get back on the gratitude track. 3 things a night. 3 things a night. What difference is that going to make? Well, of course, that's 15 over the course of weekdays, 21 items a week, over 1,000 things a year that made you think, man, that is a good life.
Yep.
Yes. My homework for the week is I'm going to be doing more little sketches like this. So I've got Crayola. Why did I go with Crayola crayons? I could have got a set of Prismacolor, colored pencils, which I've used before. And the reason is the kind of resets that I often talk about. I love the idea of resetting and getting back to just the basics. Then it's kind of fun to reminisce about, grade school when all you had were Crayola crayons and permanent marker. There is what I use for the outlines. But anyway, you'll see more and more of that on the socials. Facebook.com/Robert Nasir, Twitter.com/Robert Nasir. I am still, as I promised you I would last week, Monday through Friday, getting out of bed before 6 a.m., posting a photograph of my clock so that I really did get up at that time, and putting in some kind of inspirational matter in the post. Mm-hmm. So you will see that. And
if you want to see what is up with me, I did a drawing today, just took about 20 minutes, and it was a quick sketch of me when I was 18 years old. If you're interested in seeing that sketch, you can go to Meeting for Art on the Facebook pages. Just look it up, Meeting for Art. You'll be able to join and see what's up over there. And we have meetings twice a week, and we talk about art. So if you're interested, come join us.
Yeah, that is a half-hour session, very light, friendly, open.
Yeah.
Very few requirements other than good nature and some interest in creativity. And you should be a part of that. Yes. Amy does a workout 5 days a week. That's going to be changing soon. But the point is, she's done this workout called Couch to Standing, which doesn't sound like a big change. You get off the couch and now you're standing up. Well, she'll take you through, for example, stretching, kind of yoga postures, some basic exercises, and it'll work up to even a little dancing by the end of it. Very easy, very light. You would think, yeah, but will that do much? Well, talk to Stephanie, who made Amy's workouts one small but significant part of her transformation over the last year.
Yeah. That's
been amazing. It's been good for us, too.
Mm-hmm. Very much so.
You know where to find us on the socials. You know what to do. Thank you very much for joining us. If you are interested in making this show even better, you know what to do. Put in your suggestions for future content in the 5 Minutes with Robert Nasir Facebook group. If you want to support the show, Patreon.com/Robert Nasir, PayPal.com/Robert Nasir. Do you need to memorize any of that? No, you don't, because not only is it all in the show notes, but if you go to robertnasir.com, you will find links to the many, many, many ways in which you can and should be supporting this show. we're going to keep it up. We're loving it. We're loving having you with us. I missed a few things in the chat, but there was some awfully good stuff in there. If you don't see the chat during these shows, make sure you get in there and participate. But also, you guys are funny and very clever stuff. And as always, thank you for joining us.
Yes.
We wish you, as always, every bit of success, all of the joy and happiness that you, and I mean you, and I'm pointing the finger at the camera. If you're listening to this on audio, you know, take it in. I'm talking about you. Every bit of happiness that you so richly deserve. And as always, we wish you love.